There was something that you mentioned just there, not giving people sort of your power, your energy, like not allowing people to take that from you.
Yeah. Don't give your power away. So
That's
I
it.
say,
That's it.
yeah. So I say this about people who sometimes let critical people, negative people dissuade you from your goals. There's always people out there who are going to tell you you're no good, that you don't have the ability. Are you crazy? That's a terrible idea. That why are you doing that? And all of a sudden, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And soon as you let them take over, then you've given away your power. And what I mean by that is you've listened to them and you've let them stop you in your tracks. And I'm like, what the heck? Who knows? Do you know? Like, imagine, I remember it's like, you know, there's a lady one time that it's like, that's a terrible idea. I don't even know who you are. I just met you. You don't know anything about me. So I don't care what you think, right? That's the way I want you to look at it. Sometimes we think about it as like, oh gosh, yeah, well, you must be an expert. You must be it. Yeah. I share the story of how I cut a guy 3 different times. 3 different times I cut this guy from a position that I am the expert in. Like I literally coach people to millions of dollars in this. And he came back a 4th time and became an all-Canadian, a pro, and is now still playing. If anybody was to tell somebody that he wasn't good enough, it should have been me. But that guy didn't pay any attention. He interpreted that feedback differently and he got away from me. When you know those people that are constantly wearing at you, if you're not careful, they start this downward cycle where they influence your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. And so in order to stop that, you got to get away from them and not pay them any mind.
How do you decide who is the one you should listen to and is giving you good advice versus the one you should ignore and carry on?
That's a good question. So I always talk about negative feedback versus critical feedback. Negative feedback is always what's wrong, what's broken, why it's not happening, why it's a terrible idea. Critical feedback, why it's wrong, have you tried this? Critical feedback, this is what's broken, I could see this, this, and this. These are the issues that I would work to solve on. Do you see how they give you hope, a path forward, optimism, right? Critical feedback is supportive. I love where you're going, right? I could see the work that you put into this. Here are the issues that I think that are broken. Here's what very specific, positive, that supports and motivates you to keep moving, right? Whatever you're asking, and sometimes we have to train people to give feedback. And so I say, okay, I got it. Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any thoughts about how I can move forward? I don't know, that's why I hired you. You know what, you're not the kind of person I want to work for.
I'm going to take that with me because I mean we've just expanded our team here and it's like communication is so difficult. You don't. It's really hard to realize that where you're making mistakes. So I'll take a lot of that with me. We hear about success, especially like on social media and stuff. I see a lot of self-made, and what we've been speaking about already. There's a huge team behind it, whether we like it or not. Mentors. Coach. So, like, what the notion of self-made, like, is success, or however someone defines it, is it possible to do on your own, or do you need these support systems and teams behind you?
I would say that no one does anything alone, right? Nobody. You don't get there without somebody opening a door for you, without somebody giving you advice. So I don't think about the team has to be formalized and structured. I think you have to be committed to excellence, but I think that if you think that you're doing it alone, then you're being selfish and you're not realizing how much advice you've gleaned from somebody along the way. How many times somebody has maybe opened a door or a crack for you, or how much reading that you've got from some resource here or some video there. When I won my national championship, I read everything by an Italian coach called Argio Sacchi. Argio Sacchi was this Italian coach who never played soccer. In fact, he was a leather shoe salesman. He was excellent. And so I tell you this because you don't need to have a marketing manager and a secretary and an administrator and all of this. It's helpful when you get to a certain size of organization and the scale of an organization to recognize what your strengths are. But to begin with, just recognize who are the experts around you and how can you tap them for advice. Now, you got to work like a dog at the beginning, right? But you can still do it. I don't have any big fancy team around me. So I really believe in the power of the people helping and lifting each other up.
Okay, I'm really excited to jump into this next one because one, I think people lack it a lot and it's super important. So it's the self-belief. You spoke about it before, and just whatever you like, just give us everything, because I think it is so important and I'm so interested in the subject.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people see me as this national team coach, high performance coach, world championship, this, blah, 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 PhD, yada, yada, yada. I got cut from a soccer team so many different times. I failed out of university. I hid my shame and my humiliation. And in fact, what it did is it stopped me performing. And I'll never forget the time my wife showed up one day at a practice and I was benched for about 2 months for something I did in a practice or a game where I cost the team a victory over a nationally ranked opponent. And she basically said, "Oh my gosh, why are you practicing so bad? You don't even you don't even look like you want to be here. You're making so many different mistakes." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Why are you letting this coach do this to you?" And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean?" She goes, "You told me that he's not a good coach. He hasn't played a lot. He hasn't got any licenses. Why are you letting him tear you down?" And it was then I recognized about this whole giving your power away and letting somebody else define my sense of worth. And the line she said is, "Why are you letting this coach tell you you're good or not good? Why are you believing him? Can't you see how it's making you change the way you play?" I'm like, whoa. And it was right then and there I realized the power of what we believe really influences our actions, or how we interpret somebody's perceptions of ourselves really interprets our belief systems and our actions. And so that mantra, thoughts influence your beliefs, influence your actions. I needed to stop all that negative thinking. I needed to stop all that self-doubt. And so I started studying self-confidence, the belief in your accomplishment, the belief in your ability to accomplish the task at hand. Let me say that again since I messed it up. The belief in your ability to accomplish the task at hand. And so I stopped that negative thinking. Oh my God, you can't do this. Stop it, right? Oh my, I don't belong. Stop it, right? And then I started really starting to believe. And I didn't just all of a sudden like, oh, I can fly. It's like, no, I'm as fast as anybody. No, I can kick this ball. And then I went in there and I started practicing a little bit harder. I started training a little bit harder. I started working. I wasn't gonna let this guy define who I was and what I was about. And when I did that, I started playing better. And then all of a sudden he couldn't say, no, you weren't good, because I was winning the races. I was scoring the most goals. Fast forward, I became the captain in all conference on that team, a team that I never played on for months. And I recognized the power of self-belief. In psychology, we call it self-efficacy, how that could change how we see ourselves and the things we choose to pursue. And so by doing so, I started changing the way I thought. I started, when negative thinking came in my head, you saw me do these thought-stopping exercises. Stop, a physical action to stop it. And I replaced it with positive statements and affirmations. I got this. Nobody outworks me. And my all-time favorite, I am the captain of my ship and the master of my fate. If you've watched my TED Talk, you know that one. But then there's the science behind it. The science behind it, if you use 3 statements, 3 positive affirmations a day, and you're in the creative marketing world, you do artwork, creativity, product, collateral, you increase your productivity by 17 to 19%. I'm like, whoa. But then if you're in the diagnostic world, complex problem solving, you're something like 25 to 27% more faster, more efficient in solving complex problems. Think about that from doctors or engineers or people who do logistics. But then if you're in the revenue generation, the sales world, this is where it really hits the people. You're 35 to 37% more likely to increase your revenue by people who use 3 affirmations a day. I am the captain of my ship and the master of my fate. Nobody outworks me. I can learn anything. I use those to be automatic when I feel doubt and negativity coming into my mind.